Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to walk through how to design a chart and some information to quickly express or articulate an idea. Now for some this may be basic, but for others and who this audience is intended for, this is going to open up some eyes, give you some new ideas to think critically and creative about your data. So we're just going to do a simple price statistic or price comparison. So we've got a product here. We're going to do 2020 price. We'll do 2022 price. And you can do this with anything. You can make up data, have fun with it, ask a friend or a colleague to give you some data, make some stuff up just to practice. And we're just going to put 90210. Okay, popular show years ago. Good go-to number there. Now, I've got some data. I did some data ink there. I bolded up the field names. We're going to put in a price here of $2.43. And we're going to put in 509 here. And we're going to do a percent change calculation, which is new minus old divided by old. So we'll do new minus old divided by old, and we have to put that in parentheses, otherwise the mathematical order of operations will divide that out first. And now we get 1.09. Now this is all nice and good and great information for you to consume. However, we want to do what Tufte calls data ink or data ink ratio. Right now that's way too many digits for our problem that we're trying to solve. So we either have to round it, or we can do some sort of a visualization or a data ink kind of concept here to smooth that out. And what we're going to do, because business people, when it comes to percent change, it's a lot easier to consume when it's actually a percent rather than 1.09465, because sometimes people will confuse that with the price. Oh, it's $1.09, or the change was $1.09, and you said a percent change, but it looks like $1.09. So that could cause confusion in a business meeting or with somebody that's reading your information. Never assume that people are going to see your result the same way that you see it, or never assume that they're going to understand your result based on how you intended. So try to help them out. Give them help whenever you can. So we're going to bump that as a percentage because people can understand 109%. Now they might say, wow, that's a significant change. And that is your point. That is the point you're trying to make with this data. Because yeah, that is a significant change. Let's go ahead here. I'm just going to bump this up so you can see it better on your screen. There's a couple of problems with this data right now, but I want to save it until later. Right now I want to build a chart. Okay. I'm going to take these two data points here and go to insert. And if you need to learn how to make a chart, that's not this video. What I want to show you is how to make a chart better. So we're going to go up here, let's do a column chart here, just so magnitude. And I don't like to leave a chart hanging out here. You can always redesign it, but try to make it the size of the data, right? Or you can extend this so that the data comes across a little bit easier. But I want to show you what happens here when you do extend these columns. Your chart actually goes along with it. So you do want to be careful when you do stuff like that. But in this case, let's just go ahead and bump this to kind of match up there. Now, the other thing I like to do is I like to data ink this up. If you were to print this off, it'd be kind of messy. Right now, these grids are distracting. So we're going to go up here. We can easily do remove grid lines, but I also like to just go to the paint bucket tool and just get rid of them altogether that way. Multiple ways to do this. I just choose to do it that way. Next thing I want to do is I want to build a table. Now, not to be confused with a data table, but literally just some grids. And then I'm going to put one up here because these are headers. And technically I could put one here because according to Tufte, whenever there's a calculation or something along those lines, it might be appropriate to put in a vertical one. But I'm not going to do that here. I will, however, bump this to the left. Okay. Now I'm not done with that. Don't worry. We're going to fix some stuff up here. I'm going to put in a title here for the product because it is just a product. Now, if you put 90210, people might understand in your company what that is if it's a top selling product. But what I like to do for these kinds of things is I like to put in the actual product description. 2x4 times 8 premium construction framing lumber. Okay. Now you can see here that it's kind of big and going to another row. I don't typically like that. So I'm going to bump this. Now keep in mind, we are zoomed in here as well. So it could be misleading. I'm just going to change that size a little bit there. So now we have the basic elements of our chart, right? But I'm going to tell you this, it's ugly. It's ugly. My personal pet peeve is when people use the default blue within Excel. Everybody's chart's going to look like that. It doesn't show meaning. It doesn't show any connection to the material itself, things like that. So we're going to soup this up a little bit. I'm going to set this up. First of all, I don't like the grayscale that these come in as, so we're just going to click on them and go up here and change that. Now, I like to bump it up a little bit too so people can see those titles, because those are very important. That's the essence of your data set, is the pricing. So let's make sure that they don't confuse any of the things there. I'm going to bump that there. And see how it went from 12 to 14? Let's see if we can type in a 13 there just to see. Perfect. See what I did? Instead of going from 12 to 14, I actually typed in a 13 up there. So that worked out wonderful for us. Okay, so just right up there, just type that in there and you're good to go. Now we're going to change this up here too. Okay. Now when we look at this, there's a couple more things I want to adjust. Now first and foremost, the elephant in the room is currency format. We don't have a currency format up here. So first of all, here's what I want to do. I want to do a currency format to this. And now we have some better business language. Now people know that's pricing and that's a percentage. However, look what happened here. I'm going to do that again. Look at all this real estate that we have here. Now the moment I put in the dollar sign, boom, it shifts this here, makes more room for the decimals, and it shifts my asset, my visual over, it crushes it a little bit, makes it a little bit smaller. I don't want that. I want my folks, especially when these are just zeros, right? Like if these were smaller numbers, like a temperature change, temperatures or something more specific, scientific that people care more about the precision on, no, great. But all we're doing is repeating the zeros here. So let's go over here and go to Format Axis. And we're going to go over the number. So hopefully you can see this. So it's on the right-hand screen. One of the problems with zooming in is some elements within Excel they don't let you zoom in on, like in the intuitive or inherent in the graphic user interface. So there is something down here called number, and decimal places is 2. We're going to take that out and put 0 and come back. And there we got we still have our dollars, but now we don't have the 0.00. We still have our dollar symbol up here as well, so nothing changed there. Okay, wonderful. Now, the other thing I like to do, I like to think of people that might not be able to see very well when something's printed off, or they need a boundary. Let's left click on these boxes here. Then we're going to go to the paint bucket tool. So format data series. Let me see if I can bring it over. There, I can bring it over a little bit. Format data series. And see how border is automatic? Let's make that border a solid line. And immediately you might be able to see a black line that emerged around that, because by default it's a black line. I like to increase that width. And you can hit a little arrow here. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's an up-down arrow. And just keep going with it. Usually a 3. Now keep in mind, I am zoomed in here. So once you go back to 100% or you print this off, you will not see them be this bold. So, okay, so now we have that, which is wonderful. Okay. Now there's a choice here to do different types of dashes. You know, if you don't want a solid line, you want dot, 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 dot all the way across. You know, whatever you and your company decide is best. But there's a cap type here of flat by default, but we could go round, we could go square, and in certain situations that does have an impact. However, the join type is what we're after here. And by default it's round, but you can play with that as well. It's very minute, like the mitered edge. If you're a woodworker, you know exactly what that means. A beveled edge, you know, very small there, little cut there. You know, or rounded, where it's round right there. So your choice, just a little more finesse in that as well. Your company might decide it's not worth your time to figure out the corners on a chart. Okay, one more thing that I want to talk about is visually. So we don't even need to look at the chart right now. Is look at how this is set up. You know, we made some data, but we didn't think about spitting it out as a visual. So what I want to do is I want to clean this up a little bit. I want to do an insert up there and an insert here. So now, and I want to trim this up a little bit. And now we have, graphically, it's more pleasing to the eye that we know where this thing starts and ends. Okay. Now, one more thing I want to show you to drive the points home is we're going to go back to the chart. We're going to right click on the chart, go to Format Chart Area. Okay. And I want to play around with some width again. Now it's automatic, so we're going to click on solid line, make sure it's black. Very similar. We're doing a very similar process to what we did with the columns right there. Okay, and we're going to bump that up to the magical 3. And we're going to do a rounded corner. I think that'll look really sharp. Okay, so that's all we need. Now you could argue that this is so close to the other side, so just drag it down a little bit. Just drag it down a little bit, center it as best you can right around your whole chart there. And there we go. Now you might want to insert another column in, or a row in here, however your company wants to do it, and put in a title here for the people that might see this as a printout. So you might consider cost comparison or price comparison of, and this might be where you put the part number. 90210, 2 times 4 times 8, premium construction framing lumber. Okay, so now you have that. And I also like to make sure that I merge that. So we're going to highlight all that, go up to merge and center, make sure that's nice and neat. And yes, we might want to put a box around that too. And yes, maybe we want to insert another row there to clean that up and go from there. Okay, so now we have some information in there, something that looks nice and neat, and you can go from there. If you do want to change this default blue, you still go back here, but this time you can take it easier by just right-clicking, and please make sure that both of them have some sort of lines, because you can double-click these and suddenly you only have this one that's being changed. See what I did there? So that's a quick technique. So we'll go back. If I click only one time on one of these charts, doesn't matter which one, can you see how there's little circles at the corners? Whatever I do to this chart will be reflected in the other chart as well. So that's kind of cool. But if that's not what you want, and you want to say, okay, I want you to, if you're in a business meeting, please focus on the red, candlestick or column there, and then focus on the green one for a different part of your presentation. Well, you're going to want to change the color. So we're going to click again. So click twice on the one that you want to change. And let's make it red. And this one over here, let's make that one green. No, just for fun, you can pick your own colors later. And now we've changed all that. So awesome stuff there. And you can keep going with this, but ultimately, Tufte does say that eventually you can do too much. So what I mean by that is I could color this, I could go in here and make this all yellow, make it look interesting. I could put the red here, which accountants out there are probably screaming, no, 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 red means something totally different. And then I could put this here and it jives with this information here. You can do that, but I highly suggest you consider your audience when you do that. So hopefully this was helpful for you to take your charts to the next level. Maybe you picked up a tip or two, and we will talk to you soon.